Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel. This week we're building something a little bit different. But before we get into today's video, if you're new to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button for me. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon right next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss his awesome cycling content on this channel. So like I said, today we're building something. We're building something a little bit different. And really right now we're preparing for the Sea Otter Classic coming up in about less than 2 months now. Now last year was our first year going to the Sea Otter Classic, and we kind of knew some stuff and we didn't know other things, and we've learned a lot over that past year, and it's definitely something that's going to be a continued thing we go to every single year when it happens. One of the things we brought that made a world of difference was our wagon here. So this wagon I've had for quite a while. It's a nice foldable wagon, so it'll fold up nice and small, so it's easy to transport on the way there. And then when you get there, folds out nice and easy. My daughter can sit in here when she needs to take a break and just wants to ride around for a little bit. You can store all our stuff in here, and it works great to let us just stay down at the Sea Otter Classic Festival essentially the whole 7 or 8 hours every single day. So this made a huge difference last year, and it's something I wanted to bring again. Now, one of the things for Sea Otter that we didn't realize when we went is there's actually some decent hills at Sea Otter. And when you look at a map, obviously look at the map and everything just looks flat. And when you get there, there's some good sized hills that you wouldn't think would actually be there. So last year I brought the Superfly, which just has kind of a standard flat bar. And pretty much with the wagon, we have my daughter's bike in here, my daughter, and then kind of some of our stuff up in the front, at least to start the day off. And I would extend the handle out like this. And I would pretty much hold this with my left hand and use my right hand for the brake. And that's how we got down. The hill was pretty decent. So getting down, it worked. It was slightly sketchy at certain times, but it worked. And we didn't have any problems with that. One of the big problems was getting back up, because that hill was pretty big. You needed to get the weight over the front of the bike, which is very hard to do when one of your hands is holding onto a wagon. So this year I kind of want to figure out a solution for this. I'm now a year older, my daughter's a year older. She has a bigger bike, yada yada yada. So I want to figure something out for the wagon, essentially to bring it from our campsite, which is at the top of the hill, down to the bottom at the bike valet where I can leave my bike for the day, and then we can roll the wagon around the whole festival and not have a problem with going up and down, and hopefully make things a little bit easier. Now I'm sure, now this thing, it does turn in the front, so the front wheels do turn. You can kind of see the front wheels do turn. I don't think I'm super concerned about that. I'm also not going to be going super fast with this at all. It's just going to be for that purpose and that purpose only, and there's nothing really crazy, no speed bumps, nothing like that. So it's really just kind of a flat, so it's really a pretty smooth, a little bit of gravel, and we're there. So not looking for anything super crazy. Pretty much we're making something to attach the wagon to the rear axle of my bike. So some of you guys may know I have a kid bike trailer as well. It's made to pretty much carry 2 kids if you want to, and have a little bit of storage in the back. Now, I thought about bringing that instead of a wagon. The problem with that is it's very hard to bring that in with you into the festival, and using maybe like making some kind of stroller handle for it, and that's not what I want to do. It's not quite what I'm looking for. The wagon just works so good, and it's hard to beat the wagon. So I did come up with kind of a plan in my head of what I wanted to do. And I thought, why don't I use the parts off of the trailer that work really well, also known as the hitch and the tongue of that trailer. Why don't I use those and find a way to mount them onto the wagon so I can tow the wagon like a trailer. And that should work pretty good. So what I did is I went ahead and unbolted the tongue off of the front of the trailer. So the tongue is pretty basic right here. Pretty much has the bolt that actually holds it onto the frame of the trailer. And then it has a pin that you can either pin it forwards, so I guess we'll go this way. It has a pin so you can either pin it forwards so you can hook it up to your bike, or fold it underneath and pin it back so it stays underneath the trailer. So I don't really need to worry about folding it. I'm not concerned about that at all. So I don't think I have to really worry about that part of the hitch at all. Up here is kind of the main part of why we're using this is the flexible kind of hitch coupling on the end. So over here, this has the hitch coupling. So essentially you mount the little receiver on the rear axle of your bike, and then this feeds into that, pins in, and then you have your safety loop right here as well. So this is really the part that I feel like is going to be pretty critical, is up here, and why we're using this for our option versus other options out there, and we just gotta make essentially that side attached to the wagon. So essentially we're gonna slide that down there, and I kind of held up this guy to our wagon a couple different ways. Now when I put a mount on our wagon, I don't want it in the way of it folding. So it's gotta be semi-compact, can't be anything huge. And the one thing I thought was, why don't I use the actual bolt hole right here for the tongue, and we can actually just kind of make a little mount that goes like right next to this wheel right here. We can kind of make it mount right next to the wheel, and it can go right on like that. And we can use just that rear bolt on there. That will allow this to pivot up and down a lot easier, which will let me adjust it to the height of the bike and pop it in that way. So makes a little bit of sense, right? So it's not just stuck flat, because right now the bike trailer, it tips up a little bit. I don't really want that wagon to do that much. So if we just do that rear bolt right there, and you can have this tip up and down, I feel like that should work pretty good. So how are we gonna make this work? So I have some flat stock steel that I have that should be wide enough. We're gonna go hold that up, see if that'll work for us. And I like to bend a little I like to bend it pretty much a 3-sided little bracket here. So pretty much it would wrap around the bottom and then come up to the top. And then that piece we can somehow attach to the wagon. I'm still debating how I'm gonna attach it down there, but we'll attach it some way from there. But we need to make this piece here first that can essentially encapsulate the end here and allow us to bolt it onto the wagon. So let's move over to the workbench. Let's take a look, see what we can come up with, see if that piece of flat stock is gonna work, and let's get bending and get making something. Okay, so this is the flat stock I have here. So I don't even know what this is. Okay, this is 1 inch wide, and then cut it to length however you want, 1/8 inch thick. That's actually thicker than what the bracket is on the trailer. So that should work pretty good, I feel. And that trailer is meant to go through a lot more than this will be. So let's go ahead and take this bolt out. I'm not going to use that bolt. We're actually going to use a pin so I can remove this. And let's see how this is going to look here. So where's the camera? So there's the end there. Here's our flat stock. So, oh yeah, that should work good. So there's that. So if we measure out where we need to bend this, bend it 1-2 times, and cut it to length, I think we'll be looking pretty solid. So let's get some measurements done here, and then we'll get making. So we got this right here. We're gonna use this side of our flat stock. So what we want to do is we're gonna kind of stick this right there, and we'll get my marker, and I'm gonna just go ahead and mark where it needs to be bent. Right there. Once we got that marked, I got my bench vise. Just gonna loosen it up, spin it out so we can actually use it. All right, and I'm gonna make sure I tighten this guy down really tight so it doesn't move. I've had that happen. Okay, so we got our little spot right there. So how do I want to do this here? So we can cut a little notch in there and that'll help it bend, or we can just go to town. And I'm kind of feeling like going to town is kind of our way to go right now. So let's go ahead and tighten this guy up. From there, we just gotta kind of push and bend right where we need it bent at. And we need a little help. Get a good old hammer here. So as you guys can see, got a nice bend right there. So then we'll kind of stick this where it needs to be in our trailer here, in our little hitch receiver, just like that. Get our marker, and we'll mark the other side where that needs to be bent at. All right. And we just gotta do the same thing for that other side. Get that guy all bent up. All right, so as you guys can see, so we got this guy bent up here, so it just fits right on there. So from there, we're gonna go ahead and cut this side to the right length, and then we just gotta drill a hole through. That should give us a mount, at least to mount to the tongue part, and then we just need to figure out how we're gonna mount it to the wagon itself. All right, guys, remember safety third. Throw this guy on, and let's make some sparks here. So we're gonna go straight across. Yep, right there, perfect. Well, helps if it's plugged in. That definitely helps a little bit. There you go. Now let's make some sparks. Now we're gonna just grind. We're just gonna kind of smooth off our ends right there. So you can see they're they've got some little burrs on them. So we're just gonna smooth those off real quick. Burrs all smoothed off there. Looking solid. All right. Take off our safety third. Get our bar here. You can see that'll fit, boom, right in there, perfect. And I'm going to mark essentially the holes inside. I'm gonna try and get those at least marked up.
hopefully outside's good. Oops. Okay, so that side's good. So you can kind of see there, I marked on the inside, I got black dot on that side, black dot on that side. That's where we're gonna be drilling our holes to mount or put through our pin, essentially, is what we're gonna do, so that we can mount this to the bike. Or mount, so you can mount that to the wagon. So let me get the pin, and we'll see how big the pin is. Yeah, so I think that pin is like 5/16. So we try 5/16, if not we'll go up to a 3/8. So we got that set. And then we need our drill, of course, which is behind me too. All right, so we got it marked here on there. So what we're gonna do, chuck it in here. That way it holds still while we're drilling through. Let it still get clamped. Oh, perfect. All right, I got that guy clamped in there. Got our step bit, and we're gonna go up to 5/16 first on here, and then we'll see how good that is. I do need to center punch that, so we at least keep it centered. Now we got that, so we can go ahead and line our drill up where we need to go, and we can just go ahead and start going. Okay, that might work. So you can see our 2 holes there. Just gotta get our grinder, clean up in between those a little bit. All right, so we got this thing looking pretty good. Got some holes, got it bent solid. So now, there's a little bit of massaging to it. But we get that set on there, get our pin, and throw our pin right through, just like that. Perfect. So this will be what's mounted to the wagon, so it can still, oops, so the arm can still pivot around, which is perfect. That pivot's just the right amount for me. I am super happy with that. Yeah, that feels great. So we just need to figure out a way to mount this onto the wagon now. Let's go take a look, see what we can come up with. Okay, so looking at the front of the wagon, so I want it on, let's be the left side, so this side here, because that's what side the hitch goes onto the bike. It's gonna be on the left side of the bike. So it needs to go on this side here. So looking at this, so with this here, so it realistically should go like right around here-ish. Kind of like that. Now I'm looking at this to see the pin. It might be some problem, but if I stick it there, far enough back, okay, so the front of the bracket is essentially at the front of this bar here. So I had a couple ideas, so I could either make like a plate underneath to hold on to it, because I can't have anything coming out the top. I can't have anything sticking out of the top of this to hold it on, because that's not going to work, because then it would get in the way of the tongue getting in the way. Can't have anything really sticking out the bottom, otherwise when the wheel swivels it's going to hit it. So ultimately I think I'm down to let's grind off some of this paint or whatever this is, and let's I think we're going to weld it on here, and that should get it good, is kind of my hope. So let's grab the grinder, and we'll grind a little bit of this off a little bit here. We'll kind of tuck some of this up somehow under these bungee cords, maybe kind of get that out of the way, and we'll throw some quick wheel welds on here on this piece right there, and then we'll paint it, and we should be good to go. So let me grab a grinder and the welder, and let's get working on this. Okay, so we got the corners kind of rounded off on the piece, got it in place where I feel like it wants to live, and that should be pretty happy with everything. Shouldn't get in the way of this, shouldn't get in the way of that. Should work nice and happily, hopefully. So, got my welding gear on, I got the welder all set. We're gonna try and run this pretty cold. We're not going to try and run this super hot because we're dealing with 2 different thicknesses of metal here. I believe the wagon is pretty thin. So we'll find out here. Our voltage set kind of low. So we're going to try and do a bead right across the front here. Just straight. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, that seems to look okay. Our magnet off. Throw a couple little tacks on the sides here. We'll see if that looks like it's gonna hold in the right place. Make sure our trailer tongue still fits. And then I think from there we can weld the whole thing up and paint it, get it all looking good. Alright, so there we have it. So it's welded on there. That actually blends in decently. I'm not an expert welder by any means, but that looks pretty good. The pin goes through. This has play side to side, which realistically should be fine, and honestly should make it better, I would feel. But that goes side to side a little bit, which I feel like is totally cool. I'm okay with that for right now. It moves up and down just like I wanted it to, so you can kind of figure out where your bike is, and then hook it in without raising the front of the trailer, without raising the front of the wagon up. I think that should work pretty good. So I'm gonna hit this with a coat of paint, just a little bit of flat black probably, and then once that dries, let's take it for a test ride and see how it all does. I think we're looking pretty solid though. I think this is gonna work pretty good. So let's get this painted and then we'll give it a ride. Make sure everything feels all solid. Alright, so we went ahead and we let this sit up for like a week drying because it snowed. But that's attached up there. Got attached to the gravel bike just like you would my other trailer, all attached. So far it looks okay. That all looks good. So here's my hope. So we're gonna go try this out. We're gonna test it as is right here. So no wait. See if it'll work. If it works with no failure, cool. Then we're gonna grab my daughter. We're gonna stick my daughter inside the trailer, and we'll see how that works from there. Hopefully everything is good. If it's all good, cool. We're set to go for all our events this year. So let's give this guy a shot. I'm gonna throw a GoPro on there so you can see the moment of failure if it fails. So a GoPro on there. Let's give us a test ride with just nothing, and then we'll throw some weight in there and see how it does. Alright, so this is loaded. Oh, okay, yep. Failure with her in there. Alright, let's see how this works. Alright, so from our test ride, it worked. Both ways, it seemed to work fine. Both empty and with someone in there. Looking at it here, a little bit of paint wore off, but that's okay. That's perfectly fine. And looking at the welds all look good. There's no cracks, no obvious like separation. I'm not getting enough heat in it. It's kind of a tough thing because this is pretty thin. So we got enough heat in there. It looks like that should work. My daughter said it wasn't bad. She said it was bumpy, but that's kind of the nature of not having inflatable tires, is it's gonna be bumpy. But yeah, I think this is gonna work. But I think this is gonna work. Well, for at least my purpose, which is essentially to go from the campground down to the festival at Sea Otter, this should work pretty good. It actually felt a million times better than trying to hold it with one hand and use the brake with the other on my mountain bike last year. It was sketchy at best. This feels a lot better. So hopefully you guys found this entertaining, I guess. I don't know if you learned much from this. It was kind of more a little project I just needed to get done, and I think this is gonna work. So hopefully you found it entertaining. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Appreciate the support. Any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section below. Love talking to you guys. Love answering any questions you guys have. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today.